Morning everyone, and welcome to the latest edition in our webinar series. Today's event is our annual review of the data space, and increasingly each year the impact and potential of AI. My name's Neil Thorne. I am Head of Origination at Ometis, and I'll be comparing the session today. We expect to last around 45 minutes, depending on the number of questions you have at the end, of course. So, firstly, we'd like to thank you all for taking the time to join us today. It is much appreciated. We're going to start the webinar differently to normal, and to drive some of the discussions coming up, could we ask you to complete our live poll that should have come up on your screens now? It is anonymous, so you're not giving any trade secrets away. It'll just be an interesting view of what the audience as a whole is considering over the next 12 months. So just 6 points. Feel free if you don't want to answer, then it's not a problem, but it will just help us, I think, help us all in seeing what we're all thinking. So whilst you're doing that, just a little housekeeping. The session is being recorded and will be loaded onto our website and our YouTube channel. And during the session, please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A facility. And if we think it will add to the discussion at the time, we'll interrupt the guys. Otherwise, we'll leave the questions for the Q&A session at the end. And during that Q&A session itself, please feel free to raise your hand if you'd like us to turn your microphone on to ask a question. So joining me today are three of the directors here at Ometis. I'm sure several of you on the call will know them well and testify to their experience in this space. So first up is our MD, Andy Patrick, who will be reviewing some of the data trends we're seeing in the market and that ongoing impact of AI. Our operations director and Qlik partner ambassador, Alex Walker, will be taking us through some of the updates from the main data vendors, as others as well as Qlik. And then finally, our commercial director, Chris Lofthouse, will talk about some of the common project themes that we've been seeing recently with our customers. Now, I'm conscious there's a few on the call today that may not be aware of Ometis. Essentially, we help organizations get more value from their data. We are an elite partner for Qlik, and we're the number one partner, or we were the number one partner in 2023. Still waiting for Qlik to tot up 2024, fingers crossed. However, we get involved in a wide range of projects across the whole of the Qlik platform, but also the likes of Snowflake, Databricks, JEDOX, and even Power BI projects. We grew to over 50 staff recently with the acquisition of Tahola, another long-standing Qlik partner that specialise in the hospitality sector, whose skills will certainly enhance our offering. We're a one-stop shop for licenses and added value services such as consultancy and development, but we also have a dedicated support desk that enables you to talk to a real human being about your issue. And the support team are all UK based and extremely knowledgeable. We also have an education and learning team that provide instructor-led Qlik training courses in an online classroom. All courses are listed on our website, so please take a look if you want to reinforce your skills or train some new personnel. So, right, let me firstly hand over to Andy Patrick, who will take you through the next part of the session. So, Andy.
Thanks, Neil. So the guys asked me to summarise and talk about what trends that we'd seen happening in 2024 around data and AI. And just to give some context to my take on what's happening, I sit on a partner advisory council board with Qlik. So I get the privilege to work with their chief strategy officer, James Fisher, and about 60 business leaders across the globe. And those businesses implement data projects, AI projects, analytics projects to a whole raft of different customers. So my opinions are formed from those conversations that I'm able to have there. So hopefully that will give you some credibility to where I stand on things. We look at this slide here, and we see a quite a bold claim of 72% of organizations that have adopted AI. And we were talking about this earlier on the call. What this is really about is people using ChatGPT and other tools of the like. That's what we see. It's kind of a broad use for office workers. And that's where kind of AI is this genius co-worker for you that can do a heavy lift for you to like focus on the last mile, the fine tuning that you might need to do on that. And part of that, it made us focus last year and do some analysis and research into the market. And we did that with an organization called Bark. They are industry analysts. And we were able to categorize organizations as to where they stand on their journey through AI initiatives, their maturity in AI, if you like. And the table on the right-hand side there shows that we've got 3 different levels of AI maturity. So that genius co-worker that I just talked about there, that is sitting in the ad hoc section. It can be really useful, but it's adopted from a kind of fear of missing out, a fear of not keeping up with other organizations, not from a business strategy perspective. Where we see companies with a more mature approach, excuse me, my battery is about to go low, so I'm going to make sure that I don't lose you by plugging in. With a more mature approach, is in the standard and strategic phases of maturity. We see that they've moved to those because they've built up confidence and trust in what AI can do for them at the ad hoc stage. So if this is where you find yourselves at the moment, I wouldn't panic at all, because the more strategic, considered AI initiative could be just around the corner for you. So I'd say what we've seen as a trend is organizations moving from a broad use case to a more focused effort. And this is where companies can get real value from AI when they have a specific question to answer, or a use case or set of use cases that are firmly connected to actual business objectives. I think it's fair to say that generative AI had star billing in 2024. You couldn't swing a virtual cat without hitting a company bragging about using AI to create some content or art or automate code, even sort of entire product designs as such. And that has given rise to more conversations about AI ethics and responsible AI. So I really feel that you need control and governance in your AI initiatives in order to have that responsible AI. So again, moving away from that, broad use of asking ChatGPT the answer to every question you might have, to having real control over the structured and unstructured data that feeds your AI models. Finally, on this slide, I just want to mention agentic AI. As this got a lot of focus as a buzzword towards the end of 2024, or certainly I heard a lot more about it. Essentially, an autonomous system making decisions and taking actions based upon the goals that it has. So I think we'll see a lot more of this talk in 2025 about agentic AI. And certainly with Qlik in mind, we'll actually see this in action as well. So you'll be able to interact with a chatbot, maybe sitting on your mobile phone. And that could be the starting point for answering questions about your business. And if the question is better answered by structured data, then the agentic AI will know that, it will understand it, and it will return to you the chart or the KPI, or even direct you to the dashboard that's going to have the answer to that question. If your question is better answered by unstructured data, information sitting in analyst reports, marketing collateral, product terms and conditions, for instance, then again, the agentic AI system will understand that, and it will derive its answers from that unstructured data and return a summary in a written form. So essentially, one starting point taking you to where you need to go based upon the question that you're asking. That is what agentic AI is. So Qlik enables this with its analytics offerings, and more latterly, Qlik Answers for understanding the unstructured data. So there's nothing better than when one of our prospects or existing customers comes to us and asks for help around an AI initiative that's going to drive efficiencies for them, or cost savings, or moving the needle commercially for them. So I really like seeing these stories in the news that give credence to the validity of AI making a difference, and putting it into place and giving tangible benefits. So whether it's these examples that you see on screen, or it's the fraud detection that the likes of JP Morgan have put in from an AI perspective, matching candidates with the right jobs better through LinkedIn, whatever those AI success stories are, they can make things faster, smarter, and more profitable when implemented thoughtfully. So this brings me on to the next point, which is all about what else is happening in the data space in order to be able to have these AI initiatives in place. So on the data front, what we see is that there were certain priorities in 2024 that we saw companies getting serious about. They needed to almost clean up their digital closets. Data quality and data governance became hot topics, certainly ones that we were hearing about. And this is because everyone knows that the shiny new AI tool that everybody wants is only as good as the data that they are being fed. So garbage in, garbage out was a resurrected mantra in 2024. And suddenly everybody wanted better data governance, clearer policies, and fewer duplicates in their system. On a separate note, I wanted to ask our marketing team, and Neil will possibly smile at this, and Trish, I wanted them to kick off a Did You Know initiative, because one of the side trends that I've seen in 2024 is when we're talking to customers and prospects, they're often saying, oh, I didn't know that Qlik could do that. So yes, all of that quality, control, governance, stewardship, lineage, and all those great things can be done in the Qlik platforms that you use. You just need to talk to us about that. So one for the future, guys. So alongside all that good stuff, you've got the ingestion and access to data in lakehouses. So data lakehouses are becoming a game changer for businesses at the moment. And that's because they combine the benefits of a data lake and a data warehouse together, essentially where you get a system that can handle the raw and structured data whilst also giving you the structure and speed that you need for analytics. And companies are adopting these lakehouses to do several things: simplify their data processes, cut costs mainly, I guess, but enable faster insights as well. So Alex might have more kind of in-depth insights into this when he goes on to the next section, but suffice to say that Qlik are keeping pace with this, and they're doing that by making ingest and accessible data available through things like Apache Iceberg as well. But Alex might cover that in more detail. So this is giving rise to opportunities, and it's giving rise in a couple of different areas. So we've got our AI data trust score and the use of dark data as well. So just touching on that AI trust score, this is Qlik's proprietary capability, and it's a framework that is designed to assess and ensure the quality and trustworthiness of your data to be used in AI projects. And it does this by evaluating data sets across 6 key principles: diversity, timeliness, accuracy, security, discoverability, and machine consumability. From that, we then get a measurable trust score on that data set's readiness for AI applications. So this helps organizations identify areas for improvement in their data, and we can see the improvement in that score over time. We also have tangible use cases for that forgotten or dark data now. That unused customer feedback survey or old sensor data that nobody ever did anything with can now start to become valuable again with the correct application of AI. So my final comment that I want to make on this is that what we saw over 2024 is a lot of our customers and a lot of companies in general identifying the value in investing in an end-to-end platform for data analytics and AI. Because in short, that platform, that end-to-end platform, doesn't just streamline workflows, but it creates a foundation where data and AI initiatives can thrive. So it empowers organizations to innovate faster and make smarter decisions with confidence. Now, with that, I'll hand over to Alex and he'll take you through the next section.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, so I'm going to give you a real whistle-stop tour of updates from the data vendors that took place last year. Before I start, I know I'm going to offend somebody by missing something out. It's kind of pretty much impossible in a very short kind of few minutes to run through this. So I've just kind of cherry-picked some things from that. So if Neil, if you can bring the slide up, here's the ones I'm going to talk about and some of the points. If you scan across that, you may notice that there's a lot in here about kind of data platforms, data engineering, data integration. That is very much where kind of a lot of the big shifts are happening. Obviously, there's still plenty of innovation and investment going on in on the analytics space. We're obviously very familiar with the Qlik side of things there, but these ones are quite focused on other areas. So I'll start at the top left with Qlik. The big releases last year announced at Qlik Connect were Qlik Talent Cloud. That was integrating the talent portfolio with the Qlik Cloud, Qlik data integration side of things, bring that all into one interface, one set of users, one set of authentication, and starting to merge those capabilities. And we're seeing that continue to develop since that announcement. Kind of along with that was also the data products as well, which isn't on here as well. I think we're going to be seeing more of that over the coming year, treating pre-built data models and things like that as products that people can then go and consume. Alongside that, they also released Qlik Answers. So that's the biggest AI play to date from Qlik, and that is very much about reading unstructured data, and then you build knowledge bases off the back of it, and assistants that you can then ask questions to. So it's those focused use cases. So it's not give it all your company's data, it's give it your technical product manuals, or give it some legal documents or whatever, and summarize them and ask questions and so on. Very much plug and play, quite different from other offerings. There's no code required there. You just point it at the data, and then you can build your things on top of it with configuration options in there. So quite unique, that offering. Over to Microsoft, there's obviously the Microsoft Fabric is their platform play, their combination of things, a little bit similar to kind of Qlik's Cloud, but for a different set of capabilities. So we've seen Fabric develop over the last year, bringing in kind of native Fabric databases, more integration with development tools, a thing they're calling open mirroring, where you can get APIs to get data into it, and kind of further developments around their one lake, kind of data lakehouse architecture, and so on. And of course, you can't, you weren't looking at a computer or probably even a TV screen if you hadn't come across Copilot somewhere last year. So that is obviously being rolled out everywhere in lots of areas of Fabric, but also outside that across the whole Microsoft suite, including laptops that now come with a button for it. Moving on to Google, it's one that we do less with at Ometis, but obviously we keep abreast of what they're up to. Their AI play is generally branded Gemini, although they have slightly different naming things there. They've rolled some of those abilities out into BigQuery and into their machine learning LookML, building an assistant there. Bringing additional capabilities for kind of what they call continuous SQL, which is just kind of streaming data. So you can see there's lots of plays here around integrating data better, multi-platform stuff going on, as well as them building kind of what they call data canvas, and which is their drag and drop interface for building some kind of dashboards, but also a bit of kind of engineering along the way. Now, Snowflake, again, you'll have come across Cortex, their equivalent kind of Copilot or Gemini that you're seeing all over the place. So for them, that's the branding for their large language models, but also search and built-in analysts, and also kind of data security stuff around the Guard product. But they're also bringing in notebooks, which is kind of a way of connecting lots of different parts of the platform and working in one place, like an integrated development environment, where you can work with all the structures and functionalities of Snowflake, as well as the hybrid tables they brought out, which I know some people have been waiting a while for, where you can have kind of application transactional stuff, but also also do analytics off it at the same time. You used to have to kind of choose between the two, but now you can do hybrid tables. And moving on to a couple of other vendors that are dear to our hearts, especially following the Tahola acquisition. We now work with Jedox. Chris was at a conference for that last week, and a couple of updates they released last year. Better visualizations in tables in the system. Now you might be using your Jedox data in Qlik Sense and be using those, but we all know sometimes you just want to use a native tool. So Dynatables is what they've released there for better kind of pivoting and interactivity, and as well their AI offerings kind of around that natural language understanding. So ask it questions, it will try and answer them. Natural language generation, ask it to summarize something or tell you what a data set is showing you. So plenty of developments there, and again we're aware of more to come. And then Tahola itself has a product, and now as part of Ometis, we have a product called Novus AI, and that is a kind of end-to-end, done-for-you data solution for the hospitality industry. So that is data ingestion using kind of pre-built connectors, data storage and engineering in Snowflake, and then analytics done on the front end of that as well, pre-built dashboards and so on. So if you're in the hospitality industry and that sounds appealing to you and you don't have it yet, then absolutely reach out to us. But again, we've got plans to develop that further over the course of the year. And that, look, I've only mentioned those 6 there. I've noted some other key ones down here. Yeah, Amazon, Databricks, Salesforce, obviously big players in the data industry as well. I could have given bullet points about each of those. Others that we work with specifically, in Infinity, Insight Software, and so on as well. And then just to note a few kind of industry-wide trends that we've, obviously AI everywhere. Don't need to say any more about that. Other ones, the move towards consumption and capacity pricing, that carries on. That's been kind of Snowflake's model from the beginning, moving away from user-based and more to do with how much data you're either processing or moving or loading into memory, and so on. So that's a continued trend, and you're probably aware of Qlik moving that direction, Microsoft moving in that direction as well, especially around these kind of data platforms. And then finally, as Andy alluded to, iceberg tables. These are picking up traction. If you've seen Parquet files back in previously, or heard about Delta tables, which are sort of Databricks is a thing that Summer Fabric kind of integrates with, but iceberg seems to be the next big thing about the right format to use for high volume, high throughput, quite fast changing potentially in terms of the data structures. People seem to be coalescing on iceberg as the right way forwards for now, at least. So we'll see more about that. And Qlik staying on board with that. They announced recently their acquisition, same day we announced the acquisition of Tahola, that they'd acquired Upsolver, which is very much about massive throughputs, millions of transactions per second going into data lakes and so on, and being able to query them directly and live. And that's something that's kind of facilitated by iceberg. So yeah, more than happy to answer some questions on this, or be pointed out all the things that I missed along the way. But hopefully that's just a really big picture whistle stop tour of some of the vendor updates. And I'll hand over to Chris now, who's going to run you through some kind of customer project trends that we've been seeing.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll bring it home to see how it's kind of applied to Ometis. So I'll start off by saying my insights are derived from a base of around 250 customers, primarily headquartered in the UK, and in addition, any prospect conversations we had in 2024 and coming into 2025. Next slide, please. So on the left-hand side there, what we have is what I believe is a direct impact of all the AI hype that happened at the end of 2023 and came into and continued in 2024. With many organizations planning for what's to come rather than what AI tech is available at that time. There's been a real focus on building and moving to a scalable cloud-based data platform in order to get more ready to leverage AI tech into the future, as the cloud is naturally where that tech's going to reside. In the short term, I've noticed customers have been a bit more opportunistic in leveraging AI, using baked-in AI capabilities, which further enhance no-code and low-code interfaces and can quickly benefit users to become more productive, and also empower lesser skilled users to do more. Things like the SQL Assist in Qlik Talent Cloud or expression generator in Qlik Cloud Analytics, which both accept natural language prompts to generate the code on the user's behalf, have been called out to me numerous times by decision makers as to why they went with or continue to use the Qlik platform. The empowering of the users to be utilizing these AI capabilities and the no-code, low-code interfaces was one of the key selling points. As the sentiment I've kind of gathered from various different customers is budgets are tight, there's a reluctance to hire, existing highly skilled workers are often bottlenecks, and the business is still expecting the same or even more output from fewer resources, particularly within data teams within organizations. So where I've really seen this work well is utilizing those skilled up in data analytics, those that are data literate, to perform more data engineering tasks and building out that data lakehouse. As part of building a modern data lakehouse, data quality and governance are front of mind for establishing trust, availability, discoverability, and compliance of data. And based on my continued conversations going so far into 2025, I believe this will gain more and more focus from businesses as well. If we switch to the right-hand side, this can really be summarized as establishing certainty in an uncertain world and driving immediate action to monopolize on the positives and to reduce the impact of any negatives. As an example, let's say the US impose tariffs on imported goods from April's. Customers are turning to tools like AutoML to predict the next 6 months of sales, which allow them to stockpile the forecasted orders locally to ensure they negate any short-term impact. But then that buys them time to then plan for the medium to long term. As Alex mentioned last week, I also attended the JEDOX Partner Summit. JEDOX, for those that aren't aware, are a Gartner recognized leader in the enterprise planning management space. And they really lean into this acronym of VUCA. And they suggest that we're living in a VUCA world. That is, it's more volatile than ever, it's more uncertain, there's complexity, there's ambiguity. All of these qualities that make it very difficult to analyze, respond, and to plan for the future. This is has translated into an uptick in the need for write-back capabilities within Qlik, utilizing third parties like Infinity. And we see this as a growing requirement going into 2025 as well. As an organization, we're actually doubling down on the enterprise planning management space and solutions as part of the acquisition from Tohola, and we're looking to grow out our EPM team. In particular, we're close partnership with JEDOX, which also have a strong integration with Qlik. So when, for example, unexpected interest rate cuts are anticipated by the market, you can then add that information and immediately understand how it impacts your business and drive action based on that analysis. So those are some of the insights and themes we've come across in 2024 and that we're seeing going into 2025. And on that note, I shall hand you back to Neil.
Thanks, Chris. We are now going to, just call up the poll that you filled out. So thank you very much for doing that. There's 24 people who've put in their votes, and you can see that there's quite a mix across actually of things that you're going to do. Several of you with a third of you better analytics capabilities, but also a large number of you looking at that automation of data integration and AutoML initiatives that Chris and Andy have spoken about. Now, so just before we go on to the Q&A section, our next webinar will be an introduction to Novus AI, which Alex talked about as a sort of done-for-you data solution initially for the hospitality sector. But we're also going to relaunch the Qlik meetup, which I know some on the call have attended in the past, and it's sort of continued focus on community-driven, sales-free. So I won't be there, sorry about that, for all Qlik users across the Midlands. These will be typically quarterly in-person meetups, and they feature technical, real-world topics, open discussions, and some free refreshments. and we're aiming for sort of honest, practical content with plenty of audience engagement, and they've worked well in the past, and we're hopeful they will be successful again. And the first one for 2025 will be on the 11th of February. It's in Birmingham. It's actually at one of our customers, Cozy Club. It's quite close to New Street Station, so hopefully it's convenient for people to get to. Alex,
Yeah, I thought
have you
I'd just jump in there, Neil, if that's all right, and just
got
say
anything?
that it's exciting because we've got Stephen Presland, who's one of the product managers the director of product management at Qlik, covering AI and ML. So again, I appreciate that the survey may have said you're more interested in analytics capabilities, but I think everyone's keeping an eye on what's there around AI and ML. So he's going to be presenting to us. So please do sign up and come along preferably, and we'll make a good evening of it.
Yep, thanks for that. Right, so let's move on to the Q&A. First one was, what do you think the biggest priority for business is? But what will have the biggest impact on them from an AI perspective, and what should they do in advance?
Yeah, I think I'll give my answer, and we can see if Chris or Andy want to jump in as well. But I think preparing your data, like it's the old adage, isn't it? Whatever, rubbish in, rubbish out. So you got to get your data in a good state, so it's accessible in the right format and so on. Now, we talked about Qlik Answers. It can handle unstructured data. That doesn't necessarily mean structuring it all and pre-processing it, but it might just mean putting it in a place that is easily accessible from different cloud services or data vendors and things like that. So I think that would be my thing. If you're not there, if you don't have clean usable data, then throwing AI at a messy set of things is probably going to give you misleading results. That's where I'd start.
Yeah, I'll take on from that, Alex. It's good to see that a lot of people are still focused on, better analytics capabilities and where their focus will be. And speaking, I was recently at a Qlik conference, and there was some conversation around this. So it's an anecdote, but it is tangible. Qlik are focusing their efforts to put AI into the analytics engine that could build a starter dashboard for 10 off a data model. So we'll start, you're not going to see it tomorrow or next month or anything like that, but we're going to start to see, once we moved on from Alex's stage of prepping the data, we're going to see some AI in there, but we're certainly going to have some tangible capability that builds on top of what Insight Advisor is, that you might be able to press a button to say, give me my starter dashboard off this data model. So that's where we're going to see some improvements. So I would say, yeah, that's my take on where it's going from the analytics point of view.
Okay.
The only thing I'd add is there seems to be a real shift in real-time data. So real-time in the conversations I'm having is around about 15 minutes. So people are moving away from batched overnight loads to more hourly 15-minute kind of reload times, and that's how they're wanting to make decisions based on as fresher data as possible. And I think that'll be really key, especially when you're utilizing AI into the future as well.
Okay, well, that's interesting. We had a couple that are quite similar, so I'll merge them if those people don't mind. We don't have a data strategy or lakehouse. What steps should we take? Do we actually need a data warehouse for AI initiatives? Who wants to jump in there?
I'm happy to go first again.
Go for it. We'll have an order.
I think the answer is no, you don't need one. That's kind of an easy one. It can make certain things easier if you're wanting to do, have multiple options around what AI tools you're going to use. Having it in a data platform like a Snowflake or a Fabric or a BigQuery or whatever is probably going to make it easier to access. But we have plenty of customers. In fact, the majority of our customers don't have data lakes in those kind of senses, but they will have their data in Qlik Sense, maybe even Qlik View, but you can still do stuff with that data. You can, whether that's in Qlik Cloud with Qlik Answers or AutoML, or other tools as well. So I don't think you need to have it, and it's got to be worth the investment. So I think there's probably a certain scale when you get to that it's worth investing in that. But if you're a small company looking to get started in analytics, I wouldn't start by building a big data warehouse and trying to do all of that. I'd look at where the biggest business value is and where you can make the biggest difference in the shortest time frame and deliver that, and that can be a future kind of evolution of that platform.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Alex has stolen everybody's thunder there and covered
Yeah,
pretty
I'll
much
go
everything,
first, just so I can get all
which
the
is
right
great.
answers out.
But I'll echo his sentiments that, if it's predictive analytics that you want to do, there's something in a tool set that you use right now called AutoML that you can go and predict your warranty status or your, customer churn or when subscribers might drop off, something like that. So that's kind of the predictive side. And if your business use case is around the unstructured data, then talk to us about Qlik answers. And neither of those require you to have a data lake, a data warehouse, a lake house, or anything of the kind. So it really depends upon where you are on that kind of ad hoc standard strategic for your AI maturity. So just exactly what Alex said, but in different words.
Chris, do you want to put it in another set of words again?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very broad question and they're probably looking for a very specific response. So I'd always say, engage in a conversation. It goes back to a talk I did last year and repeated a few times around mapping where you are now with your data to the outcomes you're looking to achieve. We just need to understand, what are we dealing with, so then we can map a route to get them to where they want to be. So I would just say, engage.
Okay. Now we do have a question. So when you say AI, there are many functions AI capable of. Which use cases are customers mainly asking about?
Okay, I'll jump in. And yeah, from what I see at the moment, it's still machine learning. It's still predictive analytics seems to be the hottest topic of all for a tangible kind of return on investment AI use case. So we've seen that in many of our customers. I think I've just talked about a couple of them, whether it's kind of, predicting how many customers will stay with you or what students will leave a university, things like that. We're getting a lot of those, machine learning predictive analytics use cases, but as I say, towards the end of 2024, and I think this had a lot to do with kind of the hype around generative AI. There were some customers asking questions and starting to delve into that. How can we get value out of our unstructured data? So whilst there are many sort of functional uses for AI, the office kind of co-worker, genius co-worker that I mentioned being one of them, we don't address those so much. They're in the productivity tools, but where we do see things for our customers is in predictive and latterly the unstructured data, getting value from that.
Yeah, and just going to give a perspective on that, we've come into 2025 with more AutoML opportunities than we have in the previous 18 months. So there's a lot of focus around how can we do more around forecasting and predictive machine learning models than we've seen in the past. The only other thing I'll mention there is with AI, typically we're talking about Gen AI in reality, and which is a subset of it. But as I kind of mentioned with those kind of project themes is how can we be more productive or enable lesser skilled workers to do more with it. So those kind of code generators and stuff like that, that's where businesses are really looking at how can we remove bottlenecks from highly skilled DBAs, data engineers, which are typically few and far between within businesses, and get people that understand data, they understand how to build a model, for example, in Qlik sense, so they know what the output needs to be. How do we get them actually building those tables, those views within a data warehouse, data lakehouse, and so forth? So it's really just how do we repurpose and empower our existing resources to do what they need, where a business wants to be and what they want to get from it.
Okay. Conscious we're running out of a time. We did say we'd try and stick to 45 minutes.
What those guys said, the only other kind of building off what Andy said, I think one common thing, people love Qlik answers for the unstructured data. We're really looking forward to the ability to bring the unstructured together with the structured, aren't we?
Yeah.
Where you can see in a chart, oh, that's an outlier, or that's unusual, or that's below target, why? And if your tool can go and look at why that is using that unstructured data, that's really exciting. But I think the answer is all. There are potential value for all the different AI functionalities, whether it is Gen AI or it's just natural language processing, all that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of opportunity there. Thanks for your question.
Yeah, no worries. And then last one, really, we're saying we only got a few minutes. Which data trend do you personally think will explode this year? Chris, are the Chinese going to take over with quantum computing?
Yeah, talking about a previous conversation there.
Oh no, I was just showing how clever I was. Come on.
Quantum computing is definitely on the top of a lot of people's trends that are going to happen. I think there's just going to be a natural progression of what we've seen from 2024. I think there'll be the laggards who haven't even got there yet in terms of building that kind of strong data foundation. Data governance and quality, I think, is the natural next step. So those that did invest in a modern data platform before, just get, that would have focused around the integration, so moving the data into a centralized place to make it available. Well, now, really, the logical next step is how do you free that up? How do you get it into like a data marketplace, provide those data as products, but you need to do that with trust in mind. So those kind of trust scores are going to become more and more relevant. So you're going to see them pop up. I imagine Qlik are going to be demoing some of those capabilities at Qlik Connect later this year, and more real-time data. Real-time, whenever I was in a conversation in 2023, or early 2024, people were like, real-time doesn't exist. It's nightly. That's what their perception of it is now. But every conversation I'm having at the moment, it's 15 minutes or less. That's typically what you're kind of dealing with, and that's where people see the competitive edge as well, particularly when making decisions.
Yeah, so I won't comment on, excuse me, the elements that Chris has talked about, which is largely around sort of, the data integration side of things, but just looking at it from maybe the analytics point of view. The trend that I see, and Alex has already mentioned it, and we've said it already, it's agentic AI. The conversation is going to be massive around agentic AI through 2025, Neil. It's going to be, where do I start my questioning? And you will be on your mobile phone, you'll be typing a question into there, and the agentic system will choose where it gets its answer from, because it'll be smart enough to know that. And we'll see that happen in Qlik. We'll see it happen in other vendors as well, but I think get ready for that, and an education for your employees and your data users to engage with data in a different way, because, I wouldn't say gone is the time where you'll be sort of delving through a dashboard. That's still absolutely going to be needed, but we're going to see a progression to asking a question first, and then the agentic AI system taking you to where you need to be to further answer your question into that.
Yeah, okay. Alex, be
quick.
Yeah.
So those are absolutely those are going to be there. I think from my point of view, it's probably, like Chris said, a continuation. But from my slides, it was the platformization, if that's even a word. Where Fabric, Qlik Cloud, Snowflake, and whatever, you're seeing the capabilities grow and acquisitions to kind of consolidate those into having a kind of a one-stop shop for all your data needs. However, maybe this is a hope of mine, but also I do see it as a trend that more open integration between those platforms. You see stuff like Fabric with their open mirroring supporting Snowflake and Databricks and things like that as well. So whilst they're becoming kind of bigger, broader platforms of capabilities, actually the reality is that people are choosing multiples of them and they need to interoperate. So I think that's a real positive as well, because it gives you the kind of the simplicity to some extent of having one platform, but the power of still being able to choose, and I think that those kind of things becoming more efficient and more common would be a trend there. We've had one question come in from the Q&A. I don't know if you'd spotted that, Neil, as well, about whether the AI and ML functions are coming. I'm assuming you're talking about AutoML and Qlik Answers there specifically, whether they're coming to the on-prem environment. I just thought I'd say I don't believe there's any plans to have that natively on-prem, but there are ways to run it in a hybrid fashion where you can do most of your stuff on-prem and just use those functionalities in the cloud. So do speak to us if that's something you're looking at. And of course, there are integrations with the on-prem versions with running your own kind of data science, Python or R or whatever like that, but it's not those products specifically on-prem. So yeah, just thought I'd finish off on that one since we got the question.
No, thank you for that. So, I mean, that was pretty much what we were going to talk about today. So I hope it's been useful for everybody. I'll just put those upcoming events back on the screen for you so that you know what those are going to be about. And finally, I'd just like to thank you all again for attending. I hope it's proved useful, informative. Do get in touch if you'd like to discuss any of the items in a little more detail, and we look forward to seeing you again on future webinars. So thank you all for attending. See you soon.
Cheers
Thank
all.
you.
Nice. Bye.